Salutations and welcome to another Spotlight series here as we are looking at the top Kentucky Derby contenders here on Trust the Profits. Make sure to press that subscribe button here on YouTube to get all of your Kentucky Derby content right here on Trust the Profits. Make sure to throw this video a like and comment below with your thoughts on our contender that we're going to be talking about today. Two Phils with the apostrophe. Joining me as always is El Hombre. El Hombre, how are you doing today, man?
Doing wonderful, man. So I'm going to let you take the lead on Two Phils with the apostrophe in the questionable spot as a grammar Nazi. But yeah, I know you're higher on Two Phils than me. Spoiler alert. But let's go ahead and get right at him because I think he's one of the more interesting horses in this field.
Yeah, I certainly think he is, and I think that he is a horse that is coming from obviously winning the Jeff Ruby Stakes at Turfway Park. I think a lot of people may very well try to look at that angle of last year Rich Strike winning coming out of Turfway Park, this year Two Phils. It's important to point out Two Phils is a very different horse than Rich Strike, though. Two Phils was running on a very legit circuit prior to that, and all you really have to do is look at his previous efforts, and you can see he's been running against a very good class of horses. So before the Jeff Ruby Stakes, he's been running in the Risen Star. He's been running in the Louisiana Stakes. He's been running in or the Lecomte Stakes, I should say. He's been running in the Street Sense. He's been running in big time races. And honestly, the only poor effort he has is that Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland, where Forte and Loggins, of course, pull away down the stretch and pull away from the rest of the field. But I went back and watched that race again today. He had a really tough trip on the outside going into that first turn. Really didn't handle the turn well at all. It was his first time really dealing with kickback. I'm very high on this horse. I think he's going to give you some value, and he just seems like a very honest runner.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of Two Phils, to be honest with you. I mean, and by the way, everybody's saying he's coming off the synthetic, and who knows what to make out of a Turfway Park horse. True story, but before that, I mean, he's run, like you said, he's not running. He's not coming through the Rich Strike angle. He's coming through legitimate fields, and he's burning them down. He's running the speed figures. He's maybe the most impressive horse overall, speed figure wise, to be honest with you. I mean, I certainly cannot see leaving him off of, if you're a type of player who's going to box trifectas and exactas, I certainly think he could make some noise and be in position on the board. I'm not necessarily going to bet him as a winner, but at the price that he's going to go off at least 10-1, I feel like I like him.
Yeah, I agree. At least 10-1. And I do think that he is, as much as I like him, I think you and I actually probably are aligned a little bit on this. As much as I like him, I don't view him as a win candidate necessarily. Right. He feels like, and I've made this comparison before, we all have our little pets that we love. I've compared him to Simplification early on in that Derby season last year, where Simplification just, hit the board a lot. And even, he won one of the preps at the Fountain of Youth, but otherwise he just hit the board, was consistent. And Two Phils just kind of feels the same way. Really won one of the Derby preps with the Jeff Ruby, hit the board at the fairgrounds, hit the board, twice. He's won the Street Sense. Just feels like a consistent horse. I think he'll be, honestly, because you look at some of the other horses that are going to be taking money, like Forte, like Angel of Empire, like King's Barnes, like Tapit Trice, the Japanese contingent, I think is going to take some money. And so Two Phils, I wouldn't be surprised if he's 15-1 or higher. And I think he presents great value at that price.
Yeah, I'm looking at him as probably, I think we had him as the 5th overall consensus top 10er for our group, like our Trust the Profits group. But I feel like the public has him lower. I think he's probably going to be like the 6th or 7th choice. So yeah, 15-1 is like a real opportunity here. So even like a win place bet could work well with Two Phils, and definitely underneath. Yeah, I'm not leaving him off underneath tickets, especially, because he could get home. I don't think he's going to win, like you said.
Yeah.
I definitely think he could hit the board. I like him a lot more than some of the others that I think are publicly going to go off as as more of a, tighter odds. I think Two Phils is dangerous.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason he's dangerous is he's so versatile. I mean, that's a word that we use a lot with him. I mean, he and Forte are kind of two horses that I think we talk a lot about when we discuss versatility. And I think with Two Phils, he's a horse that can sit a lot of different trips. If you go back and look at his maiden victory at Colonial Downs, was actually on the lead and just went wire to wire. And then you look at his race at Canterbury, listed stakes race, was basically a gate to wire victory there as well. Then you see he's developed this more mid-pack running style. He can sit close. He can sit far. We saw him in the Jeff Ruby go stay super wide the whole time, basically, and still be able to lap the field. So he's just very versatile. And that's the sort of horse, quite frankly, you need in the Kentucky Derby, because with a 20-horse field, you're not going to get the perfect trip. And you need a horse that can adapt and show, I can sit close, I can sit further back. And so I like that versatility that he brings in terms of being able to feel like pretty confident that he's going to be able to hit the board.
I think there's a misconception that, that he's a turfway horse, which is not true.
Yeah.
I mean, right on the board here, he's had 8 career races, only once at Turfway. He's not a Turfway horse. I mean, he went there for the Ruby Stakes to qualify, and he got it done in a big way with a big speed figure. But I mean, looking back at Fairgrounds and Churchill, he ran well at both of those tracks. I definitely think you should consider him. I think we're both in agreement, like you said, lockstep. He may not win, but he is a danger to hit the trifecta.
And I think one of the angles that people may play for or against is obviously the connections. So we should talk about this. The connections are not Todd Pletcher. It's not Tim Yaktine. It's not Brad Cox. It's not Steve Asmussen. It's Larry Ravelli and Jareth Loveberry, which are not necessarily common names outside of horse racing circles. And really, Larry Ravelli's first Kentucky Derby horse. And it's, and so there's some novice.
Great to see it, by the way.
It is great to see it. You love to see it. And you love to see new faces. Not that Larry Ravelli's a new face, but you love to see at least new people being represented in the Kentucky Derby. So I think that's also contributing to your point, El Hombre. I think that's contributing to this perception that he's the 7th or 8th choice rather than because if he was a Brad Cox horse, he would be like the 3rd or 4th choice, I think.
Agreed.
Just because people would look at the connections and go, well, we have to treat him with a certain amount of reverence. I also say, if you look at his pedigree, he should like the distance. Hard spun up top, Miatori. And what's interesting underneath, and what's interesting is Miatori's dam was from Birdstone. And so, again, all the distance pedigree you would want to see. So being able to get that 1.25 miles should not be an issue for Two Phils. And the other interesting thing is he should like, we don't know what the weather is going to be like, obviously, at Churchill Downs in 2 weeks, but he should like the slop. And he's shown that he can handle wet conditions really well, especially at Churchill, where he actually won under those conditions. So that's another element of his versatility, I suppose.
Yeah, and if you watch the Derby every year, it's a sloppy disaster like half the time. But also, I just wanted to add too, Jareth Loveberry, not a household name in even the horse racing community. Yeah. But dude is legit. I mean, if you follow horse racing closely at your weekly tracks, not necessarily on the highest level yet, fully legitimate. He belongs. I mean, for those guys, if they really wanted, Two Phils, such a high quality horse, if they really wanted, they could get a quote unquote top echelon horse up, or a jockey rather, up on top of Two Phils right now. But they're sticking with Loveberry because they believe in him. And I do too. I don't think that's a negative either. So I wouldn't let that necessarily take you off of this horse if you like him.
That's a great point, El Hombre, and I agree with you. You love to see the loyalty that Larry Ravelli is showing to Jareth Loveberry, and you love to see the guts that Jareth Loveberry has demonstrated. He broke his leg in a riding accident 3.5 weeks before the Jeff Ruby Stakes. He was worried that he was going to get replaced potentially just because he was going to be out. He hustles to get back and runs him in that huge win at the Jeff Ruby. He's going to be his Derby horse. You love to see that connection, and clearly this is a horse that means a lot to both the trainer and the jockey. So easy horse to root for, and I think we're in agreement. A horse that you got to really take seriously and definitely include in your vertical exotics because he's going to be a big price, and I think he's going to get home on the board at that big price.
And don't let Matt be coy on this video because he's been touting Two Phils heavily in the background. He doesn't want to move the betting needle, but he's heavy on him. So, Matt, anything else to add before we drop off? This one is a good one. Two Phils are very interesting.
Yeah, no, this is great. And just encourage people to continue to watch, subscribe, like, comment below with your thoughts on Two Phils.
Peace out, everybody. Thanks for watching.